The RMS Titanic, a name that resonates through history, evoking a mix of awe and sorrow. Even today, the name conjures images of grandeur and tragedy. The Titanic was not just a ship, it was a floating palace, a marvel of early 20th century engineering and design. This colossal ship, the largest of its time, embarked on its maiden voyage in 1912, capturing the world's imagination. It was a symbol of human ingenuity and ambition, promising an unparalleled experience of luxury and comfort. It was meant to be the pinnacle of luxury and technological achievement. The Titanic boasted opulent interiors, from the grand staircase to the first-class dining rooms, designed to cater to the wealthiest of passengers. Tragically, the Titanic met a devastating end, sinking to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. The ship struck an iceberg on the night of April 14th, 1912, leading to one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history. The disaster shocked the world and continues to fascinate us a century later. The news of the sinking spread rapidly, leaving people in disbelief and mourning the loss of over 1,500 lives. The Titanic's story is one of hubris and human error, but also of courage and sacrifice. Amidst the chaos, there were acts of heroism, with crew members and passengers alike doing their best to save lives. It serves as a stark reminder of the power of the sea and the importance of safety at sea. The tragedy led to significant changes in maritime regulations, ensuring that such a disaster would never happen again. The Titanic's legacy lives on not only in the wreckage that lies on the ocean floor, but also in the countless books, films and documentaries that have been produced about it. Its story continues to captivate and educate, reminding us of the fragility of human endeavors against the might of nature. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Stay tuned for more fascinating stories from history. The Titanic was a marvel of engineering and design. At 882 feet, 9 inches long and 92 feet wide, it was the largest moving object ever built at that time. It boasted a gross tonnage of 46,328, showcasing its immense size. To put that into perspective, the Titanic was longer than the height of the Statue of Liberty. The ship was designed to provide the ultimate in luxury travel for its first-class passengers. It featured opulent staterooms, a swimming pool, a gymnasium, and even a squash court. The interiors were lavishly decorated with fine woods, expensive fabrics, and stunning works of art. Dining was an extravagant affair, with a menu that rivaled the finest restaurants in London and Paris. Unbeknownst to the passengers and most of the crew, a fire had been smoldering in one of the Titanic's coal bunkers for several days before the ship even left Southampton. This fire, which was likely started by spontaneous combustion, would play a crucial role in the disaster. The intense heat from the fire weakened the steel hull in the vicinity of the coal bunker. This weakening of the hull would prove fatal when the Titanic struck the iceberg. The area weakened by the fire was precisely where the iceberg tore through the ship's side. Experts believe that the impact, while still significant, might not have been catastrophic had the hull not been compromised by the fire. On the night of April 14, 1912, the Titanic steamed towards its destination, New York City. The sea was calm, the sky clear. Despite receiving several ice warnings from other ships, the Titanic maintained a high speed. Shortly before midnight, lookouts in the crow's nest spotted an iceberg directly in the ship's path. The alarm was raised and the ship tried to turn, but it was too late. The Titanic struck the iceberg on its starboard side, ripping a series of holes below the waterline. The damage, exacerbated by the weakened hull from the coal bunker fire, proved fatal. Water poured into the ship's compartments, and it soon became clear that the Titanic was doomed. Section 5. A lack of lifeboats, a disaster waiting to happen. As the Titanic began to sink, a terrifying realization gripped the passengers and crew. There were not enough lifeboats for everyone on board. The Titanic, despite its size, was only equipped with 20 lifeboats, enough for just over half of the people on board. Many boats were lowered only partially full, a tragic oversight that cost lives. This lack of lifeboats was not due to any oversight during construction. The Titanic actually exceeded the British Board of Trade regulations for lifeboat capacity at the time. However, those regulations were woefully outdated, based on ship tonnage rather than passenger capacity. The Titanic's designers had prioritized aesthetics, believing that too many lifeboats would clutter the deck. This decision, though understandable at the time, would have tragic consequences. Section 6. A missed opportunity. The Californians ignored signals. As the Titanic began sending out distress signals, a nearby ship, the Californian, failed to respond. The Californian had stopped for the night due to ice, and its wireless operator had gone off duty. Although the Titanic's distress rockets were seen, the Californian's crew misinterpreted them, believing them to be celebratory flares. The Californian's captain, Stanley Lord, was heavily criticized for his inaction during the inquiry. He maintained that he had not been aware of the Titanic's plight, but the fact remains that a ship carrying over 2,200 souls sank within sight of a potential rescuer. The Californian's failure to respond remains one of the most controversial aspects of the Titanic disaster. Section 7. A series of errors, the missing key and cancelled drill. The sinking of the Titanic was not just the result of one catastrophic event, but rather a confluence of unfortunate circumstances. Each small error and oversight compounded the disaster, creating a perfect storm of misfortune that led to one of the most infamous maritime tragedies in history. One such circumstance involved a missing key. This key was not just any key, but a crucial one that could have potentially altered the course of events that fateful night. The key in question unlocked the locker containing the binoculars for the lookouts in the crow's nest. Binoculars were an essential tool for the lookouts, especially in the dark, icy waters of the North Atlantic. The officer who was supposed to have the key was transferred off the ship at the last minute and forgot to hand it over. This seemingly small oversight had significant consequences. This meant that the lookouts had to rely on their naked eyes, which, on a moonless night, severely limited their visibility. The vast, dark ocean stretched out before them, making it nearly impossible to spot any obstacles in their path. Had they had the binoculars, they might have spotted the iceberg sooner, giving the Titanic more time to maneuver. The extra seconds or minutes could have been the difference between a near miss and a direct collision. Adding to these oversights, Captain Smith had cancelled the lifeboat drill scheduled for earlier that day. Lifeboat drills were designed to ensure that both crew and passengers knew exactly what to do in an emergency. While this was not an uncommon practice, it meant that the crew and passengers were unfamiliar with the lifeboat procedures. In the chaos of the sinking, this lack of preparedness became painfully evident. This lack of preparation contributed to the chaos and confusion during the evacuation. Passengers and crew alike were unsure of where to go and what to do, leading to precious time being wasted and lives being lost. A combination of these errors and oversights created a tragic scenario that could have been mitigated with better planning and attention to detail. Section 8. A perfect storm, the contributing factors to tragedy. The sinking of the Titanic was not simply a case of bad luck. It was a disaster waiting to happen, a result of a perfect storm of contributing factors. The coal bunker fire, ignored warnings about ice, a lack of lifeboats, the Californians' inaction, the missing locker key, the cancelled lifeboat drill, all of these factors, both large and small, played a role in the tragedy. The Titanic disaster serves as a stark reminder of the importance of safety regulations, preparedness, and vigilance. It also highlights the dangers of hubris and the human tendency to underestimate risk. Section 9. Legacy of a tragedy, remembering the Titanic. The Titanic sank on April 15, 1912, claiming the lives of over 1,500 people. It was a night of unimaginable horror as the unsinkable ship met its tragic fate in the icy waters of the North Atlantic. The disaster sent shockwaves around the world, prompting outrage and calls for improved safety regulations at sea. The sinking of the Titanic became a catalyst for significant changes in maritime laws and safety protocols. The tragedy of the Titanic has captivated the world for over a century. Museums and exhibitions dedicated to the Titanic draw millions of visitors each year, eager to learn more about the ship and its ill-fated journey. The wreck of the Titanic was discovered in 1985. And since then, countless expeditions have explored its remains. These explorations have provided a glimpse into the ship's final moments and helped preserve the memory of those who perished. The story of the Titanic continues to resonate with us today, reminding us of the human cost of disaster and the importance of learning from the past. Through documentaries, films, and memorial services, the legacy of the Titanic lives on.